Chapter 15. On Monday, Nate hurried back to the University of Cambridge. Class hadn't started yet, and he sat at the desk staring off into space. Lucy placed her hand on top of his, and he jumped. "Is something troubling you? You are distant today," she pointed out. "Sorry, I was just thinking about Aalliyah," he replied. "She hurt herself over the weekend." "Oh no, what happened?" "We were ice skating and she fell on her back. It is badly bruised. She has a black and blue mark across her entire back." "That's horrible." "She is confined to bed until Jeramie declares she is well enough to get up on her own. He is with her taking care of her, and that is what I'm thinking about. I noticed something over the weekend. Jeramie has a crush on her." "And you're worried she's going to cheat on you?" "No, Jeramie is my best friend. He would never do that to me. Secondly, Aalliyah doesn't reciprocate the feeling. I don't even know if she knows." "How do you know for sure she doesn't feel the same?" "And if you could pick up on it, she for sure knows." "I can tell. Plus their stars have a gap between them, showing it isn't mutual. She is still head over heels for me." "What is the significance of it then?" "Jeramie has always been an open book. He cannot hide his emotions for the life of him. He is trying to keep it from her and me, I can tell, but he can't. I am thinking if I let it go on like this, he will show more signs of how he feels. Then I will be able to flip the story on her and have the courage to end our relationship knowing Jeramie will be right there to pick her up. I just need more time for Jeramie to really show how he feels, though." "How long do you think that will take?" Nate sighed. "It could be a while. The longer he fights his feelings, the more he will try to hide it, and the longer we will have to wait. It could be a few months or even a year." "Be careful with this plan. I don't want you losing your best friend." "I know, but I'm terrified I'll lose him no matter what." "Why?" "Because if I hurt the woman he cares about, he is going to be mad. If he finds out I'm cheating, he will never speak to me again. If I just simply hurt her, he will be upset with me for a while, but may come around." "He's your best friend since elementary. Do you really think your friendship is that fragile?" "He cares deeply for Aalliyah. He's extremely empathetic. He will feel her pain. Over the weekend, he was so worried about her, he was in tears. Like I said, he is very expressive of his emotions, so everything will work out in our favor." "But you are choosing me over your best friend since forever." "Well, I love you." Just then, the first student entered the classroom, ending the conversation. Meanwhile, Jeramie sat in Nate's bedroom, gazing upon Aalliyah. She was still asleep, which was good because she needed rest to heal. He smiled and left the room, but heard her stir. He re-entered and saw her eyes were open. "How are you feeling?" he sought. "Slightly better, but not by much," she informed. "I have soup finishing up for you." "Thank you." He left the room and came back with a bowl of soup. Very cautiously, he helped her sit up and drink the warm broth. When the bowl was empty, he assisted in lying her back down on her belly. He sat down on the bed next to her and reached under her shirt to rub her bare back. Several minutes went by and Aalliyah spoke. "May I talk to you about something?" "Of course you can. I need you to be 100% honest." "You have my word. I would never lie." "Do you like me more than a friend?" Jeramie sucked in a sharp breath and then sighed. "Yes, but I would never dare come between you and Nate. I am so sorry. Please don't hate me." "I could never hate you for your feelings. You can't help it. Love just happens." "I'm really sorry. I was trying to keep it under control and not let it show. I wish I could just turn my heart off. I hate myself for it because Nate is my best friend and I didn't want to put you in this position. But you are so beautiful inside and out." "It's okay, Jeramie. I do love Nate with my whole heart and soul. I don't care if you accidentally let your feelings show around me, but please keep it from Nate. I wouldn't want him thinking you are backstabbing him. He's your best friend. You can't let anything fracture your friendship." "Believe me, I won't. Do you know how I can stop feeling for you?" "Unfortunately not. I think you just need to let yourself get over me, and that might take you meeting another lady that steals your heart." "I don't know if that's possible. How long have you liked me?" "A while." "I thought so." "Well, why did you never bring it up before then?" "I wasn't sure. I didn't want to inquire of it if I was reading you wrong. Seeing how worried you were Friday and all weekend is what confirmed my thoughts." So, how many more days will I have to lie in bed? You know I'm not one for sitting still. Depends on how fast you recover. You're making good progress. I think by tomorrow we can get you out of bed for a bit throughout the day, but most of it you will still need to be recovering lying down. I'm hoping by next week you can go back to your normal life. Likely you'll still be sore then, but very mildly compared to now. Slowly, as Jeramie had said, Aalliyah's back began repairing, and she could walk around the house. In a week, he let her return with him to preserve. Melody was ecstatic to see Aalliyah back and pranced around her. Jeramie loved watching her interact with the animals and seeing how well she was with them. They both knew she had made the right decision in choosing to help out there and giving up the library. When summer came, Nate and Lucy agreed to teach a summer course, just so they could spend that extra time together. Nate kept observing Jeramie for signs of his crush, but the most he got out of him were warm smiles directed at Aalliyah. He wondered if, while he wasn't there, if Jeramie showed his feelings more. He tested the theory by visiting the preserve, of course, where the two couldn't see him. However, Jeramie didn't do anything other than have a glowing smile. Nate hated how difficult Jeramie was making his plan, but he knew why his best friend was being so cautious. Before anyone knew it, Christmas was there. It was going to be quite lively, too. Nate's parents and Aalliyah's parents were coming to their little place. It was always wonderful having the entire family over and spending the time together. Secretly, though, Nate wished he could be spending it with Lucy, but she had gone home to Germany to be with her parents, and he couldn't be with her and Aalliyah at the same time. Nate and Aalliyah left to go pick up Lisa and James from the airport. Even Maeve, Aaliyah's aunt, was coming this year. Most years she tried to come, but she couldn't always. Jeramie remained at the house finishing the last preparations. When his two friends came back, Nate's parents had already arrived. With the other three guests, the party became very lively. Everyone grabbed a plate of food and took a seat in the living room. All were laughing and chatting. Nate's parents were sitting on the lover's seat couch. Maeve was on a folding chair. Lisa and James were sitting on the floor. Nate was in an armchair with Aalliyah squished next to him. Jeramie was standing in the doorway, choosing not to sit. After a bit, Aalliyah got up to throw out everyone's trash. She went into the kitchen and then returned, but pausing next to Jeramie. Glancing around the room, she met her parents' eyes and offered, "Would you two like me to bring a kitchen chair in for you to sit on?" Both of them shook their heads. Aalliyah was about to return to Nate when he ordered, "Wait! Don't move. Is something the matter?" He grinned and pointed up. "You both are under the mistletoe." Jeramie and Aalliyah glanced up and saw that was true. Their eyes met, and both of them saw the awkwardness reflected. "Well, I guess I best take my seat," declared Aalliyah. "Nope, you can't. It's the role of the mistletoe." Aalliyah faced her roommate, and he assured, "I have a plan. It's going to be okay." She nodded, trusting him. He leaned in and kissed her forehead. Aalliyah sighed. Maeve cried, "That doesn't count. It has to be the lips." Nate's father echoed, "Yeah, a forehead kiss isn't valid for mistletoe." Slyly, Nate added, "You have my permission to kiss her lips." Aalliyah and Jeramie faced each other, and she was shaking, and his eyes reflected the same nervousness. They both knew Jeramie's feelings for her were as strong as ever, and kissing her was not going to help with that. Jeramie cut in, hoping to get out of it. "I never kissed a girl before in my life. My first kiss should be with the one I'm meant to spend eternity with." "Oh, just do it already," insisted Elisa. "I guess we don't have a choice," whispered Jeramie, and Aalliyah shook her head, knowing that was the case. He took a deep breath and then lunged in. His lips met hers with so much passion, and he soaked up the moment, not wanting to let her go. His hand caressed the back and pulled her closer to him, while his other hand continued holding her chin. Aalliyah at once bit his lip, and he immediately pulled away. "I'm sorry," she whispered, though she had done it intentionally to stop him. She faced the room and saw everyone staring wide-eyed, and she knew Jeramie had made it extremely obvious how he felt for her. Through the eerie silence, she made her way back to Nate. She wrapped herself in his arms and tried to get her heart to stop racing. Still, silence lingered, and everyone except for Nate was staring at Jeramie. Jeramie turned and went into the kitchen to fill his water, but that was only an excuse to escape them. Aalliyah knew the others would be worried she felt something for him, so she laid her head on Nate's chest and kissed his cheek, trying to prove their love was unaffected. The silence was taunting and made it difficult for her to breathe, but still it lingered. Nate could sense the discomfort that Aalliyah was feeling, so he proposed, "How about we get some singing going on? Aalliyah, my dear, would you do us the honor of singing the song your mother Olivia used to?" She nodded and rose off the chair to stand by the Christmas tree. She sang it with every note lilting into the air. Then everyone in the room sang every Christmas song they knew. When the singing slowed down, Maeve piped, "Nate, you've been with Aalliyah for 6 years, right?" He nodded. "So, when are you going to propose?" Lisa slapped her sister. "What if you just ruined it? What if he is planning on proposing today? I told you before we left Ireland not to ask that." Nate intercepted. "Don't worry, I wasn't going to today. The stars haven't told me it's the right time yet. You all know how closely I follow the stars for guidance, and now will be no different. What about you, Maeve? When are you going to get married or even find yourself a laddie?" She shrugged and turned her eyes to the ground. Aalliyah whispered, "Nate, it's a really sensitive topic for her. Don't press her any further. When she was married, he died in her arms before we even knew him. It troubles her deeply, though years have gone by." "I had no idea," he whispered back. "My mother told me." The family then started playing a few games to celebrate together. Later in the evening, Nate's parents went home and Aalliyah went off to a nearby hotel with Maeve. Aalliyah was sitting outside on the patio staring up at the stars, and Nate was inside cleaning up. Jeramie took the opportunity to go outside and talk to Aalliyah. He sat down in the chair next to her. Before he could speak, she started, "I'm sorry I bit you earlier. Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine," he replied. "Thank you." "For what?" "Biting me and stopping me. I had gotten too carried away and was completely lost in the moment." "You sure did." "So much for not giving Nate any indication of how you feel for me." "I know, I'm sorry. But I have to say that was the best moment of my entire life." "I thought as much," she said with a grin. "How could you tell?" "It was so full of passion. I never felt anything so strong before. It was lovely." Jeramie was immediately taken aback and almost terrified. With wide eyes, he thought, "What do you mean? Surely Nate's are far more so than mine was." "Maybe in the beginning of our relationship, but not anymore. All of his kisses are empty." "Empty?" "It's because he's always in a hurry to go off to Cambridge. I feel like my importance to him is fading, and I'm his only if there's time." She trembled and she swallowed hard, trying desperately not to cry. "Oh my word, I never realized you were so bothered by him being at Cambridge." "It's really a wonderful opportunity for his career. I can't stand in his way, so I stay silent." "By suffering? You need to tell him. He's surely not aware that he's been lacking time with you." "It's fine," she insisted as she wiped a tear. Just then, Nate came out onto the porch. Jeramie at once demanded, "You need to hold Aalliyah closer and more frequently." "Jeramie, it's fine." Hearing her voice quiver, Nate approached her and grabbed her chin, tilting her face up into the moonlight. "You're crying," he stated. "What's wrong?" "I just miss you when you're at Cambridge. I miss being close to you." "I miss you too. You are all I think about, my darling. Let us be close." "Jeramie, it's a nice night. Perhaps you'd enjoy a fine walk around town?" Jeramie looked at him puzzled, but then caught on. "Oh, I gotcha," he replied. "Sure. How long would you like?" "An hour. That will give us plenty of time." Aalliyah snapped, jumping up. "No, not tonight. I don't want that." She sighed heavily. "Just leave me alone." She stormed off, disappearing into the house. Nate looked at his friend and thought, "Can you translate what just happened? I thought she wanted to be close." Jeramie, being good at reading people, guessed. "She meant she needed you emotionally, not physically. Your mind is always on work, which is creating an emotional gap that she is feeling. When you come home, she wants you to put your energy into her and caring for her instead of continuing your work. When you come home, try holding her and rubbing her back. That's what she wants." "How would you know? You've never been in a relationship. Maybe you should stay out of ours. It's fine the way it is." "Why are you mad at me?" Nate sighed. "I'm not. I'm mad at myself." Nate turned and vanished inside, leaving Jeramie alone on the porch. Several minutes later, Jeramie returned inside and saw Nate sitting on the couch. Jeramie sat down beside him. Softly, Nate said, I'm sorry. Honestly, you probably would know what a relationship is lacking because you're always a passive observer. You see everything. I need to make this right with Aalliyah. We can't end the night on such a note. Nate rose up and went to his bedroom door that was closed. Gently he knocked. She's not in there, Jeramie informed. Of course she is. She isn't in the kitchen, and obviously not in the living room, and I know she's not in your room, and we just came from the patio. Where else would she be? She's in our room. Nate knocked again and called, Aalliyah, may I come in? However, no answer did he receive. Taking a deep breath, he opened the door. I told you, chimed Jeramie, seeing his best friend gazing puzzled into the empty room. Then where is she? You should know. This is what she was talking about. She doesn't find sanctuary in your bedroom. For peace and quiet, sure, but not for this. The preserve? That's where I would go for a break. She loves it there, sure, but it's not her second home. Nate thought about it for a long moment and hesitated as he answered, The library? Jeramie nodded. Oh, her set of keys. How do you know that's where she went for certain? I know her. If you paid closer attention to her, you would have known that too. Now go apologize to her. Nate nodded and swiped his car keys from the rack. No, walk there. Seeing his friend's confused look, he explained, So you can walk back with her? It's the little things she cherishes. She used to love when you would walk her home from the library when she worked there. She will enjoy doing so again, and it will mean so much to her. Nate nodded and set his keys down. I'll likely be in bed by the time you return, so have a good night. You too. Have a good sleep. Nate ran down the street, but made sure not to run out of breath. Finally, he came to the library, but it was pitch black from the outside. Almost cautiously, he approached it. He pulled the handle, and as Jeramie claimed, it was unlocked, proving Aalliyah was there. Burnt orange fairy lights lit the rows of books, yet it was extremely dim in there. Aalliyah, he called and heard his voice echo. He walked towards the steps, but with them still out of sight, shouted again, Aalliyah! He rounded the corner where the stairs were and saw her standing on the last step. She spoke softly, Shh, you're supposed to whisper in a library. Then a smile broke free and she giggled as she kissed his cheek. This is what I meant earlier, Nate. You paid enough attention to know where to find me. She happily encased his lips, but felt the hesitation in him. He sighed and informed, Actually, I didn't. Jeramie told me where to find you. That's okay, it doesn't matter. You're here now, and that's all that matters. Come. She took his hand into hers and tugged him, leading him up the stairs. On the second floor, she weaved through the rows until they were in the aisle in front of a window where the moonlight streamed in. She sat down and pat the space in front of her. Understanding, he joined her. With her free hand, she lowered the collar of her shirt. Then she placed the hand joined with Nate's on her chest. She moved her hand on top of his and, guiding him, had him curl his fingers. Then she unfurled her fingers, and he loosened his, only for her to recurl them. Nate stated, I thought you didn't want this tonight. Yeah, well, I feel a lot better than earlier. The cool air helped. Now, I would like to, unless you don't want to. I'm all for it. She grinned and started kissing him. He almost fell over, but quickly pushed his hand against her chest to create a bit of space between them. Wait, he cried, panicking. She stopped smothering him in kisses and looked to him eagerly. There aren't any cameras in here, are there? She shook her head. All right, then we can continue. Many minutes later, the two lied against the thin carpet, panting. Nate remarked, Holy hell, Aalliyah, you were filled with fire. She chuckled. You were too. They lied there, trying to catch their breath. The moonlight gleamed on the sign above the bookcase, and Nate noticed it. Playfully, he swatted his girlfriend's arm and remarked, Seriously, Aalliyah, you put us in the romance section? Uh-huh, she giggled. Then she propped herself up and kissed him. Round two? You're not tired? She shook her head. All right, round two it is. Finally, the two stopped horsing around and decided to head off for home for now, that it was after midnight. Aalliyah wrapped her arm around Nate and walked like that the whole way home. Tonight was fun, she said, and he nodded sleepily. A few days later, Nate was back at Cambridge to work with Lucy on planning the spring semester. Lucy was typing away on the outlines of lesson plans, but Nate was staring at his laptop with hazy eyes. She paused and glanced at him. What's wrong? She demanded. Heavily, almost irritated, he sighed, "I'm tired of this." Lucy glanced at the laptop with a puzzled expression, thinking he hated teaching young astrologers while pursuing his research deeper. Catching on, he added, "Not of this, of lying to Aalliyah. I'm tired of faking my love for her." "You can solve that problem by ending your relationship with her." "I don't have the courage to do that. Jeramie isn't making it any easier. I wish he would be more open with his feelings like he usually is so I can pull my idea off. Maybe I'm the problem. I go home and smother Aalliyah in kisses and tell her of my day and she tells me of hers. I'm too engaged with her. Perhaps if I pull away, it'll hurt her just enough for him to comfort her openly and his feelings to blossom into light. I may try that." "All right, but be careful doing that. You may put Aalliyah through a lot of mental strain." "How?" "If she feels you pulling away, she might think she is doing something wrong. From the way you described her, she sounds like an open person, but not open enough to discuss her feelings. She'll be fine and get over it." Nate walked in the door, and Aalliyah, who had been eagerly awaiting for him on the couch, sprang up to greet him. Happily, she kissed his cheek, but he didn't show any reaction, which caught her off guard. "Is everything okay?" she inquired, worried suddenly. "I'm fine," he answered briskly and pushed past her. Jeramie, seeing his best friend home, began setting the table for dinner, while Nate set his bag down. Aalliyah and Jeramie sat down and waited for their friend to join them and tell them all about what he had learned or did today. From his bag, Nate grabbed the book he was working his way through and with his studies. He flipped to a page that had a bookmark in, and without taking his eyes from the page, stumbled over to the table and plopped down. He put a forkful of food in his mouth and kept reading. Aalliyah desperately wanted to talk to him, but also didn't want to interrupt him. "You must be on to something major if you can't put the book down," she said lightly. "Mm-hmm," he hummed back without bothering to open his mouth to properly respond. Silence proceeded throughout dinner, with the exception of forks clanging against the dishes. When everyone finished eating, Jeramie stood up to clear the dishes, but Aalliyah shook her head. She in turn got up and stacked the plates. Carefully she carried them over to the sink and turned the faucet on to clean the dishes. She always wanted the work to be equal, and since Jeramie had cooked dinner, it was only fair if she did the dishes. Aalliyah hated cooking, but found cleaning dishes a fine task, so it was never a bother. The chair scraped against the floor, and she looked over her shoulder. Finally, Nate stood up from the table, but held the book in his hands and walked over to the living room before placing himself on the armchair. Her eyes caught her roommate's, and she waved him over. Then softly she whispered, "I think something is wrong. He's too quiet." Jeramie replied, "No, he's just captivated by something and cannot pause his research. I'm sure when he gets to a stopping point, he'll be himself." Aalliyah shook her head. "I've spent many years in the library. I can tell when someone is actually reading or doing research, and he is not. He is faking it. He has been staring at the images, acting like he's studying it, but he's not." "How can you be certain he is not?" "If he was, he would have a notebook out and a pen ready to write down any new findings. Besides, his eyes are emotionless and blank. I think he had a bad day at Cambridge and doesn't want to talk about it, so he's pretending to be intrigued with the book to avoid talking to us." Aalliyah paused washing dishes and looked to the right only to find Nate gazing at them. She wondered if he had heard what they were saying. His eyes for the first time since he had arrived showed emotion, but it seemed sad. Nate sighed as he gazed at his girlfriend. She was so beautiful and pure of heart, yet he knew his touch would leave it shattered forever. He smiled, seeing his best friend beside her. "Please take care of her and be the strength she will need," he thought.